Good evening and welcome, welcome, welcome. Cherie, how are you? Bar Shalom, good evening. Sonia, how are you? I miss being there. I'll be there tomorrow though. Good to see you all tonight. Welcome to the conversation. We're going to have a great one tonight. Shelton Clark, Cubs, good evening. I hope all is well with you and the family. Good evening, Mother. How are you? How are you? Frida, hello. How are you? Glad you're there tonight. Glad you all are here for the conversation. Welcome, everybody. Minister Rhonda, good evening. And thank you for today. Appreciate you so much for standing in and stepping in. God bless you. Sister Brian, how are you? Minister Keith Gordon, how are you? I want to welcome you all to the conversation. We're going to wait just a few more minutes and allow a few more people to come on, but we're glad you all are here. It's going to be great tonight. I'm doing great. Glad you all are here. Welcome to the conversation. We got a good one tonight. Hello, Nicole. How are you? I hope all is well out there in Seattle. Glad to see all of you this evening. Welcome to the conversation. I'm glad you're here. It's going to be great tonight. So glad you all are here. Do me a favor, click like and share. Share it on your page, and I think someone else may be blessed by this conversation tonight. Minister Deborah, how are you? Glad you all are here. I want to welcome every one of you to the conversation tonight. And this is going to be a great conversation. I'm glad you all are here. I want to welcome all of you at this time. So glad you're with us on this Thursday. And we are going to be blessed, I know, by the conversation tonight. And I'm going to go on and we are going to get started. But before I do, again, welcome, whether you're on one of the 3 Facebook pages or YouTube or watching this on Facebook. Thank you for joining the conversation. But as we prepare for tonight, I want to tell you that our special guest for tonight, he's a husband, he's a father, grandfather, he's a community volunteer. He's known all over Savannah and everywhere else. Everybody knows this guy. And I'm glad he's here. He's also a minister, and he is about empowering people and making this place better for all of us. And I am so glad he's here in the conversation tonight. And so without any further delay, would you all please welcome to the conversation Mr. Alton Wright. Welcome to the conversation. How are you?
I'm doing well, Pastor. What about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you're here tonight for the conversation. I'm glad you're here. And I was thinking, they always said James Brown was the busiest man in show business. Your resume sounds like you're the busiest citizen in Savannah. How do you do it?
Well, I'm pretty busy. I just can't dance like James Brown, but
And then I didn't mention in your resume, I didn't mention also, I know on your resume is also drummer and
yeah,
things like that. I've seen you wear many hats over the years. Well, listen, I'm so glad you all are here, and we've got people still tuning in, and I'm so glad you all are here. But I knew I wanted to talk to you when we started these conversations. I knew I was going to want to have a conversation with you. Of course, one of the things that I didn't say in your introduction is that you are the longest term employee ever in the history of Gulfstream. That is amazing. A career that spanned 53 years. So I just wanted to ask you to start off, even when you hear us referring to you as the longest term employee in history, what does that make you feel like? How do you feel just hearing that?
Well, initially you feel pretty old, but you know, it's I thank God for bringing me through all of these years and getting me to this point. And so I feel really thankful and grateful that I was able to do that with the help of God. And it's a long story that we'll get into some of it tonight, but how all these things happen, how God opened and closes doors. Many times you don't realize that it's happening until long after the fact. And then you realize God was doing this. He was orchestrating this. It wasn't like I had this plan that I'm going to be there 53 years. Because with my generation, the way we grew up, it's you get a job and you work and you retire. And but not necessarily after 53 years, but God has truly been good to me and my family.
I believe it. I believe it. So take us to the beginning of your career. I just always wondered. So what year did you actually start?
1967.
67.
Yeah, same year I got out of high school.
Wow, and I don't know if you can see the chats over here. Bar Shalom is on here. I think you may know who Bar Shalom is. They're saying this is Minister Bar saying he was 3 years old when you went to work at the Gulfstream. rubbing it in. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that was 67. Wow. So I was going to ask you what. So what drew you to Gulfstream in the first place? You said you just gotten out of high school. So how did you wind up over there?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to back up a little bit to kind
Uh-huh.
of do a little, give you some background, and then we'll move forward. But I actually was born and raised right here in Savannah, and then I moved to, well, a place you hear about in the news now a lot, and that's Hampton, South Carolina.
For sure.
And that's where my grandmother lived, because my mom and dad were from there. And my brother, General, he had been living with my grandmother all these years. And so when he graduated and then he came to Savannah, then I went up to live with her. Now, needless to say, she lived out in the country, and it was really rural, no modern convenience except for electricity, and that was about it. So by the time I graduated and came back to Savannah, um, got a job at Howard Johnson's right there at the bridge. And, it's like, I didn't, a lot of times, especially with young people, you don't really have a plan, and you don't think about it. I'm just having a great time in school. And then all of a sudden you have your diploma and you're out. So what do you do now? Well, I went to Howard Johnson. And so this is another reason why I tell young people, you have to respect your elders, because you could turn them off, and guess what? They cannot help you. It just happens so that the guy who lived across the street from us was a bricklayer. I knew nothing about Grumman at that time. That was the name. Grumman is now Gulfstream. I knew nothing about this place. And so he told my dad one day, "Why don't you have that boy go out there and apply for a job at that aircraft factory?" And so I did. You had to go to the employment office there on Bull Street. And so I went there, applied, and then I got the job. And so basically what happens is, so you go to school for 5 weeks. And it was Savannah Technical School then, and not a college. And so it's right across the street from Groves. So we went there for 5 weeks. You pass, then you go and you get a job. And so initially, the first year we started, there was only 100 people that was working there. But I need to back up one more time to let you know that, I did meet my wife up in Hampton, South Carolina. Actually, she was from Barnville, about 2 miles away. So the blessing just continued on, right? And so now
Absolutely.
after going on 50 years, we're still married. And so I met her up there. And so anyway, getting back to the story of Gulfstream. So I got out there, and there was only one basic job that we had, and that was building aircraft. All the stuff that you see today, the glam, the glitter, and all the people and engineer, all that stuff didn't happen. We had 100 people. We built airplanes. And so
Wow.
so I did that up until the time I was drafted 2 years later. And then that's the beginning of the Gulfstream story.
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm glad you paused and gave a shout out to your wife, Sister Vera, that we all love. One of the sweetest ladies on this planet. And I always heard, beside every great man, there's a great woman. So shout out to your wife, Sister Vera. And that is amazing that the entire Gulfstream was 100 people. And I also didn't know that Savannah Technical School at one point was across the street from Groves. I didn't know that until this
Yeah.
moment right here.
And now you look at it now, it's Savannah Technical College.
Right.
And we have multiple campuses.
Absolutely. And I was going to ask you to compare Gulfstream then to Gulfstream now. And I hear you say that there's just no comparison to this place that we see with all the jets and everything compared to the beginning.
Yeah, and we had that one facility here in Savannah, and like I said, when it opened, we had 100 people, and it actually came from Bethpage, Long Island, New York. The company was Grumman, and so they usually did military airplanes, military work for the federal government, and so they decided they were going to build, actually have a purpose-built corporate jet. So this was the first time there was a corporate jet that was from a scratch, because most of them in the past, they were taking old military aircraft and converting them into military aircraft. This was the first corporate jet that was designed and built just to be a corporate jet. And and now when you look at it today, from that one facility in Savannah, we're all over the United States and the world.
Employing about how many people now?
It's probably somewhere, well, I guess worldwide, somewhere around 15, 16,000 people.
Wow.
In Savannah
Wow.
alone, it's probably about 10 or 11,000.
Wow, that is amazing. And you were at the beginning of all of this.
Yes.
That blows me away. I don't know if and my wife just commented, I don't know if anybody else will ever make 53 years. It's like that's a record that's probably good for a while, don't you think?
Yeah. And so, and I was still 17 when I started, and I had to get a work permit. And so I learned from a lot of the older folks there, older than I was anyway. And so this one guy named Avery, he just started calling me Bug, and that kind of stuck for a while. Well, you're a jitterbug, so he just started calling me Bug, and so they called me that for a while anyhow.
See, we're learning a whole lot of stuff tonight. I didn't know about even Savannah, and I grew up in Savannah. Didn't know some of this stuff, and we know your nickname right now. And I know there's probably some people on here. Well, Frida's on here as well, so she probably heard that before tonight. But anyway, I'm so glad to that you're sharing this stuff with me. And I wanted to ask you, over 53 years, I was thinking about that because most people, plan on working 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and then they retire. But for 53 years, I just wanted to ask you, what was one of the main keys to your longevity to stay for that long?
You know, I could tell you in 3 words: learning, learning, and learning.
Mm,
You don't become complacent because you get into a job and you know that job well, but the learning and learning and learning propelled me into a lot of other areas. I've had 4 or 5 different job functions that were not necessarily related over that 53-year period. And it was because, I just took the initiative to go into another area, learn some of these things. How does this work? What make that work? Not become so complacent that, hey, I got a job, they're paying me, and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And if you're comfortable with that, that's fine. But promotion and elevation and increase come with your ability to learn and know more about the job than a lot of other people. And so, when you look at those things, you become more valuable to a company the more you know. And so I would say that's my the reason that I've been there for so long. Longevity was with me on my side anyway.
wow. When you're talking right now, I wish we had thousands of high school students or college students entering into the workforce, or just young people in general. I'm glad that people that are on here to hear you say that, because in my experience, and I have heard people say on a job, that's not my that's not in my job description. They don't pay me for that. Find somebody else to do that. But it sounds like the mindset that you've had, just to learn, to make yourself more valuable on a job. I think that's something that so many people can benefit from, that type of wisdom. I'm just so glad you said that.
Yeah, because
We're not in church right now, but you just blessed me with that one.
yeah, there's always going to be people who don't want to do it. Okay, well, I'll do it. And so I did a lot of that. And in early on in the career, because Vera she was home with the kids, and so I was making a lot of overtime just because I learned another job.
Mm,
Okay, in the area that I was in, okay, we didn't need any overtime over there. But over in these other areas, I would go over and help those people like during the week. And now weekend comes up. We need more help. So who are we going to go to? We're going to go to someone who has knowledge of the job. And so and that sustained us for a long time with the overtime that I was working, and being able to take care of my family.
that is so awesome. And Vanessa just said it's the mindset. It's the mindset to to create value within yourself, to let the company see the value in you. And as you said, the promotion, the overtime, and everything comes with it. But it is that mindset to say, I'm gonna show the value that is mine within this company, that I bring to this company. That is really good. I wanted to ask you, speaking of that, those things that you did, to making yourself valuable. So I want to ask you this. So what over the years, who or what inspired you? That that work ethic. Where did that come from?
I would say that came from my dad. Um, and when you understand the things that he went through, and you were able to see a lot of this stuff, after I got was grown. But my dad had to. You really don't hear about someone dropping out of school in second grade.
Mm.
He didn't drop. He didn't drop out because he wanted to. He dropped out because his dad had died, and he was the oldest child. And he had quite a few other siblings, and so he had to quit school so he could go to work in the
In
second
second grade?
second grade. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but it was bringing in enough. It was bringing enough finances to help support um, the family, and a lot of farm work and things like that. And then he eventually moved. After he got older, he moved to Charleston for a while, and then to Savannah. Worked for the city of Savannah for 30 something years before he became ill. And the thing is, and proudly driving that garbage truck. Sometimes people look at these jobs now, and it's like, what? I wouldn't do that. But and I look at the people who pick up, the refuge and things in our area, and I really respect those people because they're providing a service that it's needed. Let there be a strike, and you'll find out how much is needed. And
Yes,
so
you
my
will.
dad worked his way. He started off. He was dumping cans, and back then they had real steel cans. It wasn't these little plastic things they had. And then they didn't have the dumpster, so they had to pick that can up over the bed of the truck and dump it in there. So he
Mm.
realized early on, this is not this part is not going to work for me. So he ended up working himself into a position where he was truck driver. And so he drove truck until he retired. And so when you look at it, it's like, yeah, but a garbage man, yeah, but you're looking at a garbage man who actually uh, got to in a position where he paid he paid for a house. He got to a point where automobiles paid cash.
Come on.
But it's not what you do and how much money you make sometimes, is how much knowledge and experience you have in handling money. There are people out there that make thousands and thousands of dollars, but they don't have a financial plan. And that's one of the things Brother Bart is working with a lot of people on at church. You got to have a plan, and you have to manage your finances. If you don't have a budget, then you're planning to fail. And so here's a man who uh, dropped out in second grade. Now, he knew how to handle money. He dropped out in second grade, but he knew how to handle money. And so he was able, so we never missed any meals. We never did, have any issues because he provided, for his family. And now, and what, another valuable lesson he taught us is that, um, you need to save your money. I was a young fella. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna save it for about a week, then I'm gonna take the money out of the bank and go do what I do. So anyway, he had he had the honor system. He would loan you money, but he had a book in his drawer. So you would go in there and write down when you got it, how much you got, and every time you make a payment, you subtract it from that amount. And that's what he did. And so, but whenever, now he wasn't a pastor or a preacher or anything like that. But whenever you went to borrow money from him, or you're going to get a sermon about, or you're going to get a sermon about how you knew these things were coming, you knew there was going to be problems ahead, and you didn't prepare for it. I'm going to loan you this money this time. But, so anytime I didn't go over there that much. But when you go over, you might want to pull the pulpit out for him, because you're going to get a sermon.
It's going to be a sermon.
Yeah, and so he taught me a valuable lesson there. But just watching him and how he managed his family, his household, and his finances. And this is somebody who dropped out in second grade.
Wow, this is amazing, and I can see you are dropping some wisdom on us tonight, and you're giving us keys to success in life. And just to, I didn't know your father well, but I remember him, and I didn't know this story that you're saying right now. But I think the dignity within a man or a woman, the dignity that they bring with them brings dignity to whatever the job is. I have respect for anybody who's willing to make an honest living. And as you said, if it's picking up the refuse or whatever it is, I honor a man or a woman who's willing to do that to make a living. And I, I could just, I'm picturing him. But he instilled honor. Obviously, when someone wanted to borrow some money or something, there was some honor that he was going to make sure you recognized. But I think that's something that I think if that was something that is instilled these days, I think that kind of wisdom, and I can't say it's missing, but I think we can never get enough of what you're saying right now. This is the wisdom for living right here that you're telling us. That is so amazing. I wanted to ask you a question. While you were talking just now, there were so many things going through my mind, including Frida also said Pops became a supervisor while he was there as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I became a supervisor.
Yeah, that is awesome. The power of just hard work and willingness to do that. It reminds me of my father. There was nothing my father wouldn't do to make a living for us. There were 5 of us in our house. We never went hungry and everything. There were years when my mother wasn't working and he was out there willing to do whatever it took to make a living, to see to it that we were taken care of. And it's something that I appreciate to this day. And I know you do. And it's something we pass along to those coming up right now. I wanted to ask you, and what I didn't mention, you mentioned just for a second, you were in the Army.
Yes.
You mentioned just in passing.
Right.
That you went through the military. You were in the Army for how many years were you there?
Well, actually, it was 2 years, but that was back during the draft. So I went in and went to Vietnam. It's been a year over there, and came back. And as people say, well, it was one of those. It wasn't a popular war, and we didn't get a lot of respect when we came back. But we were doing a job that we were asked to do, and we were called to do, and so we did that. And so, as a citizen of the United States, I served proudly. And so that doesn't change anything, rather, when we talk about wars and popularity and all those kinds of things, we do what we have to do. And so we were called on and we did it. And so I honor all the soldiers out there that's been, in now, that have, that came out of the military, either retired or their time was up. I honor those people. One of the things that, speaking of military, I know people get killed in wars. But it just, it saddens me a little bit because I was with the 173rd Airborne Brigade. And one of the things that I get now on Facebook is they'll send, we have a memorial page. And so they'll talk about every airborne soldier in my unit that was killed during that war. And I look at a lot of the young people and it just hurts you, hurts your heart really. But I'm thankful to God that I went over there, and a lot of others did, and came back in one piece. And so for those who had some troubles and tribulations and hard times as a result of that, honor them and just lift those people up in prayer because they need it, because war is no joke.
Well, I can't even imagine. I didn't go the route of the military, but let me just pause right here. I just wanted to pause in the midst of just honoring you for all you've done. And they've even written it in the chat. We honor you for your service,
Thank you, sir.
For what you did for this country, for our protection, and all of those in the military. We our hats off to you tonight. We salute you, and I thank God that He allowed you to go and to come back. I thought about the scripture that says, could it be that God preserved you for a time such as this? Because you are a blessing in this world right now. And we will pray for those others as well. But I really wanted to just say that we salute you tonight and thank you. Thank you for your service. Now, I want to ask you one more question right here, because in 2021, there are words that we hear a lot, even in sermons or just in the world. When you read, there are a lot of words out there like destiny and purpose and calling. And it's on the minds of many people these days. And so out of all that you've done and everything that you do, we'll talk about a few more things that you're doing tonight. But I just want to ask you, what would you say is what is your purpose? What is your calling? What do you feel like destiny is? What does destiny look like for you?
I think God has put me on a new path. Um, I would say somewhat new. I was kind of dabbling with some of this before, but now I got clear direction, and that is peacemaking, unification, and reconciliation. And people see how I handle things sometimes and say, I don't see how you did that. They did this and so that's something that the entire Christian community, the church body, we've got to go back to the things that the Bible told us that we should be doing. And it's like when we get to a point where we should be quick to hear, slow to speak, and I forget the other now.
Slow to wrath.
Yeah, slow to wrath. And so when we when we see that, it's like, yeah, I understand that, but we jump right down to but to be a hearer of the word, and and not just be a doer of the word, not just a hearer only. Okay, but before that, it said, but you got to do these three things up top, and it's somewhere between, quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Somewhere between there and being a doer of the word and not a hearer only, somewhere it got lost. What? And when you look at some of the Christian communities now, we need to all be together, and we've got to start with that. And so somehow, whatever happening there in the middle, we've got to change. We've got to change that narrative.
We've got to. Jesus said this: they'll know you're my disciples by your love. Yeah. And sometimes we're going for the deeper things. But as you said, we go for the deeper sometimes, and we skip over these things, like quick to hear and slow to speak and slow to wrath.
Right.
I love when you share the word of God, because you share nuggets just like this, and you make it so practical. If anybody hears you teaching or preaching the word, like right now, just from what you said right now, none of us got any excuse not to miss heaven, because you just helped us along the way. We've got to know how to do this thing right here on this earth.
Yeah, that's right.
With each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is amazing. So
Jesus said, see, but this is how people will know that you're my disciples. You can go out and say anything and do anything, and sometimes we can, like you said, okay, we can do the church thing. But Jesus said, this is how they will know that you're my disciples, because of the love between between people and
That's right.
communities and churches and
That's
what
right.
have you. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's where we have to get back to.
we have to. I totally agree with that. And it inspires me to keep in mind. I don't even think, even though we've been in church for so long and known God for so long, we can't even let those things slip. So just even to say that, it's a reminder, even to me, that Jesus said they'll know you're my disciples by your love that you have one. And the King James says one to another.
Yeah.
So that love is something that transpires between people. So I appreciate you sharing that with us tonight. We're getting a dose of the word, y'all, and wisdom and everything else. Wisdom for living in life. Now, I want to ask you a question. I want to switch gears right here.
Okay.
Can we talk about ice cream for a minute?
Yes.
Can we talk about ice cream, y'all?
Yeah.
Listen, now I want to tell y'all just how great this man is. I don't know who else on here has ever had some ice cream named after you. If you have had ice cream named after you, then you can let us know after this conversation. I don't know anybody else besides Al Wright who has had a flavor of ice cream named after him. Please tell us, how do you get ice cream named after you?
Okay. Well, uh, when I was still working at Gulfstream, I was over what we call our youth apprentice program. And so once the youth get hired, and then they get scattered throughout the plant and working in different areas, and they never see each other again. I get to talk with them during orientation, and so I wanted them to come together and kind of share ideas and to share ideas and things that worked for them, things that didn't work. So I would have this luncheon, and I would do like 2 a year. And so and I always wanted to go downtown to Leopold's, but the line was always getting me. Uh,
Yes, Lord.
yeah, it's a great ice cream, but that line. And so I said, well, I can bring them to me. And so whenever I have a luncheon, we would bring Leopold's in, and it got so to the point that they knew exactly what to do with my ice cream. I wanted pecans on the bottom, coffee ice cream, pecans, coffee ice cream, and pecans on the top. And so whenever they came out, I just walked up and they started fixing it for me. And so when I had my retirement party, it was somewhat limited because of the pandemic, but the event planners that I've worked with, Brooke and Carla, uh, they remembered that. And so when I went over for the retirement party, there was the Leopold's ice cream cart. And so they decided, well, we're just going to name this one after you. And so that's how it got there.
That doesn't mean I went down there. I endured that long line you talking about. Because when I heard that they did the ice cream, I said I got to taste this, and I got to tell you, that was a great one. Now, is that still on the menu at Leopold's?
I haven't been back since then, so I'm
Okay,
not sure. But I'm sure if you walked in and asked for it, they would fix it up because they know it's pecans and coffee ice cream. Great
wow, yeah,
combination.
absolutely. I gotta agree. I haven't been there in a long time, but that was a good one. So people, I don't know if you've ever been to Leopold, and some of you have. You know about that line down there, but the flavor of ice cream that was made in Al's honor, it's a good one. Those nuts and the coffee
Coffee,
flavor,
coffee
yeah,
ice cream. Yeah.
that blessed my life when I tried it. I just wanted to talk about that just for a minute. And speaking of ice cream, I guess when I think ice cream, I think sitting around and kind of relaxing and taking it easy. So we're talking about everything that you do, and we're going to talk about some more stuff that you do in the city. But speaking of ice cream and relaxing, what do you do? What does Al Wright do when you got some time you got downtime, you're just chilling? What do you do to just enjoy yourself?
Well, I'm kind of like Minister Tynese. I like to get out in my garden, and I like flowers and vegetables, and so I'll just kind of get out there and work a little bit, and I like to I like to experiment with things, and also, if you go to like Lowe's or something like that, and they'll have these flowers that all beat up, and so they you can get it for half price. I like getting those flowers and bringing them back to life,
Mm.
and so that's what I do to relax.
That's awesome. I love flowers too. I guess I got a green thumb. I don't know. I love flowers and plants, and I've heard this conversation about gardening. I'm hearing about gardening more and more. I didn't know you were into gardening, but I saw my mother do just a small garden in the past few months, and I'm inspired. And now you say you're into gardening as well. You all
Yeah,
inspire me even further. I got a little space in the backyard. I'm trying to figure out what I can go out there and grow now.
yeah, it doesn't take much, and if you want to simplify it, so you don't have to do a lot of digging and all that, all of those kinds of things, just get you some cinder blocks,
Hmm.
and all you have to do is put them down. You can go one high, two high, mine are one high, and then just put your soil in there, and
Oh,
then you
right
put
in there.
your plants in your seed. And then the thing about the cinder blocks, you could actually put dirt in those, where the holes are, and then you can plant things in there as well. So sometimes
That's right.
I'll have plants, vegetables in the middle, and then I'll have flowers around inside the block itself.
In the middle of the block.
Yeah,
Come on here. Come on here.
and then and
Y'all,
then,
do y'all hear this right here? Who would have ever thought of this? I see this.
and so
This is
I
amazing.
don't know if you saw my post during the summer, but I started doing this thing with the discarded Christmas trees. So I'll take a Christmas tree, stick it in the ground, and then I'll plant cucumbers, and the cucumbers will just grow up like this, and it looks like a cucumber tree. And to add some color, I'll plant cherry tomatoes in there with it, and so the cherry tomatoes and the cucumbers grow up like this, and now you got a cucumber cherry tomato tree.
Are you serious?
And so
I didn't see that post.
you could do that in this, with you cinder blocks. Like I said, I dug a hole, stuck the tree in there, and just and so the vines are going to go up on top of the tree.
That is right. Wow, that is amazing. I'm blown away right now, especially with the idea of a Christmas tree.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that is amazing.
And so,
You
like
giving
I
me
said,
all kinds of ideas right
yeah. So
now.
when you use the blocks, then, like I said, you don't have to go do a bunch of digging and all that, all those kinds of things. Just add some more soil every year, and then just go back out there and plant again.
That is right. Oh my goodness, you give me so many ideas. This is awesome. Jackie Bryan said this is a new cooking and craft show. Yeah, but I love this. You give me so many ideas. This is amazing, and you're really helping us tonight. I wanted to ask you a question. I know you to be a man of excellence. That's all I've ever known about you. I've known you for years. You have blessed me. I'm so appreciative to have you in the in the ministry, which we'll talk about a little later on. But um, I wanted for a young person that may be hearing us tonight. I wanted you to talk just for a few minutes about how excellence plays into your success. For instance, this is the Al Wright that I know. If we have a meeting at 10 a.m., you will see Mr. Al Wright at least by a quarter till or 10 till. And your reputation is such that if it's 10 o'clock and the meeting is at 10, Al Wright is obviously not going to be here, because if you had been here, you would guarantee, if I was a betting man, I bet $100 you're gonna be on time. But why is that? Just for the young person who's up and coming, things like on time for a meeting or looking professional when you show up. What those subtle things that we may not talk about. Why is that so important when you think about being successful and being excellent at what you do?
Well, you always have to plan ahead, and we know, since the pandemic, so we're not having a lot of face-to-face meetings, but we are having a lot of Zoom meetings, and so technology plays a key role in how we operate today. And so but it doesn't always cooperate with us. And so it will be fine right before you ready to start your meeting, and then something goes wrong. Okay, now you don't have any time to prepare because you waited too late. And so now you have people sitting around with nothing to do because you failed to get there on time or do whatever you needed to do. And so I think it's in order to move up or elevate yourself in a lot of positions, people recognize it. I know they may say it's old school, but people remember those kinds of things. And so, and when we look at how children are being trained today, I say how they're being trained today. And a lot of times we put the blame on the kids. Oh, I don't know what the world is coming to. Oh, this look how the children act now and what they do and all those kinds of things. Don't put all the blame on the children, because where do they get it from? They get it from us.
That's right.
And so, and we do it because we want our children to have things a lot better than what we had. We think about some of the struggles that we had in life. I don't want my child to have to do that. And I don't want my child to have to do this. But, a lot of the things where, a lot of the things that you need to be doing to discipline a child, that builds character.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of competing forces out there today because, you always hear about it takes a village to raise a child. Well, guess what? The village is now worldwide. It's just not in your community. The village is on the World Wide Web. And so now all of those people out there are helping to train your child as to what they should and should not do. And they talk about how children disrespect people and all those kinds of things. But where do they get it from? We have to look at ourselves. As Michael Jackson would say, we have to look at the man in the mirror.
Come on. That's right.
And see what is that telling us? What if and I know we want to we want things better for our children. And I agree. But there comes a time when discipline has to come in, because the Bible tells us that we should do that. And it tells us to train up a child in the way that they should go. So if the Bible is telling us to do that, and now you're looking at your child and trying to figure out, well, what happened? But I think he was telling you to train them up, right, not them train you up.
Right.
And so it's gotten to the point now where some of the children are training the parents up, and that's not how it should be. And so, absolutely. But like I said, and so now there are so many competing forces out there, like I said, on the web and things like that. But one of the things that that I always like to tell students I would work with, or children, and it's and after telling people this, they said, children, you need to be telling that to the adults as well. And so it's the 3 R's. It's respect, resilience, and remembrance. Respect is going to get you a long ways. People are going to remember respect when they don't remember a lot of the other things. Go back and talk to some of the older people now. They can tell you about a child whether they were respectful or not. And, and because that plays a key role in your development. And, I know some people don't say yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and all those kinds of things, but that's not all there is to respect. There is, how does that person feel when you walk away from them? And I say resilience because the Bible tells us that Jesus said, in this life, you're going to have some tribulation. So everything's not going to be smooth. So you got to be resilient. You have to be able to bounce back when you have setbacks, because they're going to happen. And so when you already know that, so now if I got that respect working for me, I can always draw on that. I can always go back to those people. And that's and then that takes me into remembrance. Remember where you came from. Remember the people that helped you get to where you got to. Yes. Because they will be the same people that when you fall back on resilience, when you need that resilience, they're going to be there to help you. So you need to think about those three things. And
Mm,
as I say, I've had many adults tell me, don't just tell that to the children, tell it to the adults too. Because you can't
mm,
get to a point where you need to be resilient and you give up. The Bible tells us we shouldn't give up. And so
absolutely.
now, not only is it just you, you've got Jesus on your side helping you. He's going to help you get through these rough times because he wouldn't tell you that it was going to be rough times if he wasn't going to help you out of it. And so those are
Absolutely.
the kinds of things that we look at. So the three R's, and remember that World Wide Web is the new village that,
Absolutely. Wow. Respect,
that helps to raise
resilience,
a child.
and remembrance. I got this right here. This is so. I'm enjoying this conversation. I got to ask you a couple more things because this
Okay.
time is going by. You know what? I could really just sit and listen to you talk. You are really helping us. We don't hear a lot of talk like this. This is the talk that got us to where we are. And I know they say there's new school and old school, but there's some old school stuff that would still work today with this
Yeah.
new school if we would work it. And the stuff you're telling us about tonight, this is the stuff that still works, no matter what generation it would work. Um, now you mentioned Michael Jackson just a minute ago because I got to throw a question in right here, not about Michael, but on your Facebook post, you blessed me because when a lot of times when you do a post and whatever your theme is for that post, a lot of times you will have a song with it, which I love. I
Yeah.
said, wow. And then I'll hear the song and it sort of reiterates whatever the idea is that you're putting forth on your post. And so I was asking, I thought about this. Now I hear everything about your life. So if you were to put a soundtrack on your life, what song would you add to your life just in general?
And I would say it's one of my recent posts, and it said, "If I had a hammer,
Mm,
I would hammer in the morning, and I'd hammer in the evening, and I'd hammer out love between my brothers and sisters all over this land."
that is good. Wow. And if you all not following him, follow him because he drops some good nuggets. And as you all see tonight, we're just so blessed by all this that you're sharing tonight. I want to ask you a question. I don't know how many on here know this. I don't know how many people know that you are a certified tour guide. Out of everything else that you do, we're talking about Gulfstream and all this other stuff, but I don't know how many people know that Alton Wright is also a certified tour guide. So, would you please tell us about your touring company?
Yes, when I started that a while back, it just started out of a hobby, um, or a desire to learn more, uh, and so I just started getting some books and reading up on it. Now I've kind of suspended that for a while because the pandemic and all these other things. So I've kind of suspended it for a while. But I started out, and it seems like it always go back to peace, peacemaking, unification, and reconciliation. So I named the company White Eye Black Eye Tours, so that you get, when you're looking at both out of both of these eyes, it covers all nationalities, and you take a look at from a perspective of everyone on the history of Savannah. And it wasn't like, well, these people did this and these people did that. And sometimes you kind of hear just one side of it. So I figure about with Black Eye, White Eye, you get to see everything. And I combined it and put it together. And so it was, and so and the thing is, you don't even have to be certified anymore. Uh, but during the certification process I went through, there was 262 questions on the exam about the city of Savannah. And so I really enjoyed it. You live in a city. You live in a city with all this rich history that a lot of people that live here, born and raised here, don't know anything about it. And so I used to travel a lot. And so I would find things out about things that were connected to Savannah, and I started adding it to my repertoire. And it's
Mm.
like I never heard it on anybody else's tours, and so those are the kind of things that kind of fascinated me, and and so like I said, I did it for quite a while, but now I'm still in the tour business, but with a different perspective. I'm actually in training to be a docent at the Savannah African Art Museum. And for those, I had to go look it up myself. What's a docent? That's a person who does free tours.
Wow.
Yeah. And so,
Wow.
so I'm in, and the thing that's so fascinating about this, as I go through and learn things about African art, I'm seeing so many Bible stories in these things, and a lot of the most times you go to a museum to see art, it's like, oh yeah, that's has great aesthetic appeal or whatever the case may be. In African art, it actually, every piece of art has a story to. There's a reason they do what they do. It's not just it's a, and a lot of it is for the to remember all their ancestors, where they came from, how they got here, and the different rituals they go through. There's a reason for all of that. But like I said, and I'm talking to some, this professor I'm working with. I'm going through all this stuff. And I'm saying, but isn't that what Esther did? The
Mm.
same thing that this lady did. Isn't that the same thing that Elijah did? That this guy's doing? I mean, it's just fascinating. So I'm enjoying that. I'm learning. It's a whole different it's a it's a whole different learning experience for me. But and this was like the first day I was there. I started seeing these Bible stories that were connected
Wow.
to some of these things that are the rituals that they're doing. So
That is awesome. Well, I look forward to the tours and everything else. I feel like we've been talking. You mentioned you were talking to a professor, and I'm thinking I'm sitting. I feel like we're talking to a professor tonight, Professor Al Wright. You are a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of wisdom, and I thank God for you. Um, just before I let you go, I wanted to say that the Bible says that Jesus was the Word. Jesus was the Word became flesh. And I just want to ask you, I believe that and because uh, Al Wright is also the administrative pastor at Branded Hearts. He has blessed us, and his business acumen, along with the anointing. I'm just going to go there for a minute. We've been talking about everything else, but the anointing that's on your life, the presence of God that's on your life, the excellence that's on your life. You have brought such a level of excellence and blessing and business to our ministry. I thank God for you. I want to say that. But, as Jesus was the Word became flesh, I believe it's time for all of us who are the church. It's time for us. It's time for the Word to become flesh as well in our jobs and in our everyday living. And so I just want to ask you about what you feel is the church's place in our communities these days. You talked about the World Wide Web, and also the village is so big now, but what would you say is the church's place in this village in which we live in this world today in 2021?
well, see, in this village, it's grown darker and darker. And when Jesus spoke about being this, we were talking about this light of the world. The church should be the light. It should be the things that draw people to it. Okay, if in all this darkness, it's just not happening. So what else is there? What's next? Well, what is that light up there on that hill? Well, if I'm in the darkness, anybody would like to see light in the darkness. And so that's what the church is supposed to be doing. And sometimes the church's lights are a little dim. They're not as dark as the world itself, but their light is a little dim and it's kind of faint. And it's people are looking, and it's should I should I try to venture out and see what that faint light is? The church should be a bright light. It should be no question about the light of the world and what Jesus is calling the world to. And all he wants is everybody to be saved. But they can't be saved in the dark if they don't know how to get to the light. And a faint light is just not going to get them there. It's got to be a very, very bright light. And Jesus is the light of the world.
Well, listen, and you have been such a light for us. You have lighted our life with your life, your career, your wisdom, the anointing that's upon you. I appreciate you so much for tonight. I thank you for sharing this time with us. And from the comments that I see here, you have blessed us tonight. And those of you that heard this, I want you to just go ahead and share this and tell the people that you got to hear the conversation with this man, because Al Wright, as we call him, Pastor Al at Branded Hearts, as he's known as Al Wright around this city. You have blessed us. And sir, I thank you for this evening. I just appreciate who you are. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate taking this hour with us tonight,
Yes.
Out of your busy schedule to talk to us. I have enjoyed this conversation. I was looking forward to this. And people, I told you we all were going to be blessed tonight. And so follow him on his social media. He's always going to be sharing. I can't wait to hear you share again in another Bible study. Like I said, you bless me all the time, and you are just a blessing. You and your wife. I thank God for you. And Frida's on here. I saw your daughter on here. Your whole family is just a blessing. And so I just want you to know I appreciate you being a part of this conversation. And I pray that God's richest blessing will always be upon you and your family. And may everything you touch always be blessed. And wherever your feet go, get the territory. If you want it, it's yours. And I appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you for having me on, Pastor. It's been a pleasure, and I just pray that people got something from it that will help to make a difference in their lives.
Absolutely. I know we have. So listen, people, this has been another conversation, and I am so blessed. I'm full. I have enjoyed Al Wright so much, and I'm sure you have. But listen, until the next time, we're going to let you go tonight. I speak a blessing over you and your house and your family. As you rest tonight, I pray that you have sweet rest and just awaken tomorrow, strengthened by God to be about your business. But we thank you for sharing in this hour with us tonight. Our special guest has been Al Wright on the conversation, and we'll see you at the next conversation. We'll have one in the next coming up really soon. But this has been a great one. And in the meantime, thank you again and have a good night. We'll see you later.
Good night, Pastor.
Good night.